I think the biggest challenge was persevering when no one wants to read what you're writing. And I think that that's a really common experience for everybody just starting out in this industry. And you have to realize at a certain point you're writing a story that you want to tell, and you kind of have to write for yourself and not for the town. And also paying rent on a dog walker salary. That was hard.
Yeah, I would agree. Maybe I would phrase it in a different way. When I first got here, I had sold a movie. I had been living in New York. And I came out to work in my first job on NYPD Blue for Stephen Bochco, the inimitable Stephen Bochco. And then I wanted to go out on my own and start pitching stuff. And I found that people would say, oh, you have to have a rom-com, and you have to have a comedy, and you have to have a drama, and you have to have a sci-fi thing. And they would bring in a binder with laminated pages and say, hey, what do you want? And what I realized is they did not want that. What they wanted was a writer who would come in, or a group of writers, and just pitch something authentically from their heart that they really believed in. And I think that was the biggest challenge at first, because like Ash says, I thought maybe I had to conform to the town, when in fact you just write what you want to write and then hope that it finds an audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think very kind of similarly, like a lot of it is that there isn't this sort of like well-worn path that you can take where it's like, oh, well, I'll just do X, then Y will happen, and that will lead to Z. It kind of feels like you're sort of like floundering, like, will anybody read these scripts? And so it's just that lack of where you sit in this sort of like vague kind of area where you're continuing to write, but it feels like the scripts are just going to sit on your hard drive and you just sort of like aren't sure if anything will ever happen.
I would say find your people. Find your collaborators. Don't focus on the big producer, the big agent. I would say find your fellow writers, find the people who you really admire and respect, and come up together. I mean, we're here tonight with two of our writers, Liz Pong and Amini Roja, who we were in a writers group with 15 years ago when we first moved to LA, and we've just stuck it out together. They're incredibly talented. We knew that from the very start. And it's so gratifying to have a group of support. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I would second that, certainly. And I would also add that you should follow your own instincts, because people will try and, allure you with like very shiny things and say like, oh, this person is great or that person is great. But guess what? If your instincts are telling you that, for example, you've read a script but it's not there on the page, it's probably not going to be there on the page for that person when they have to write it in 12 days. So really follow your instincts, follow your passion, trust yourself. I think it's common with creative people to toggle back and forth between insecurity and arrogance. It's not arrogance to be confident at times, and I think just follow those instincts and trust them, because that's what brought you to the table in the first place.
Amazing. I know we have to wrap it up, but quickly for you.
I would say a quick piece of advice would be to read a lot of scripts and to try to stay as current as you can with like a kind of formatting and syntax. It sounds very, I agree, I hate it. But like, if you can signal to whoever is like reading that you sort of care enough about this to stay up on those things, it does like mean something. I wish it didn't. I don't think it should, but it does.